Welcome to Tech Driven Business brought to you by Innovative Solution Partners. Meagan Knoll and Tom McGinnis, longtime collaborators and educators, join me to share how the University Alliance program is helping shape a skilled workforce and benefiting students, educational institutions, industry partners, and SAP. It's all about building a valuable talent pipeline.
So how are you guys?
Well, thank you.
Very well, thanks.
So I know the topic from today's session is building your talent pipeline, and I know it's a vast subject, but I tried to keep it to a few points that that make sense in terms of how our listeners interact with our podcast. So if you guys are ready, we can get into our questions.
Sounds great. Let's get started.
Let's go.
All right. So I know, talent pipeline, big word, a lot of different things that goes along with it, but let's focus on a couple of things. Can you describe the University Alliance as it applies to SAP and the SAP customers and partners ecosystem?
Absolutely. The University Alliance is a program that was initiated by SAP, and the whole idea was to foster collaboration between educational institutions like the universities and trade schools, SAP itself, and then SAP customers and partners. What we like to think of for the University Alliance is that it is a conduit for knowledge transfer that will help prepare students to become skilled professionals in the SAP area. It's a global initiative that has over 3,500 educational institutions, and that spans over 113 countries.
From a customer perspective, it gives an avenue. It allows companies to work with their local schools, because oftentimes universities are struggling with what content to provide that's meaningful to the local community when it comes to job skills and with systems work. So companies can help identify what those requirements are and the skills that they value, and help set those realistic goals for the graduates. And it's from a school's perspective, it's the target market that they're working with. So the whole idea of having this conduit back and forth allows both sides to get what they need out of the relationship. And collaterally, then everyone gets other benefits outside of the University Alliance, a variety of different ways that we'll probably end up talking about in a few minutes.
One of the other points when it comes to the SAP University Alliances is that there's a lot of collaboration in making sure that students and partners can both participate in things like conferences, meetings, workshops, boot camps, certifications. It really helps to make sure that our students are skilled to the point they need to be to jump right into that talent pipeline.
And now that's a great explanation about the University Alliance. Thank you. And what about, let me ask you this, how long has been this University Alliance around in terms of your interaction, both of your experiences goes?
I have been interacting with the University Alliances for about 17 years now.
And for me, close to 15 years. Yep.
Wow, it's quite a long time. Okay, so that kind of leads me into my next question, especially when you're talking about talent pipeline, coming from a customer's perspective, right? What can SAP customers and partners expect from this program? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, everyone gets a little bit different benefits out of it. The major stakeholders, like you said, the business community, the academic community, and most importantly, from our perspective, the students. Mm-hmm. From a business perspective, it's their impact on the school. I don't think organizations appreciate how much impact they can have on their local schools, because they're looking for guidance. They're looking for help when it comes to what to offer students. And the partnerships that are forged with companies and the local universities provide a variety of benefits out of that. Companies also, from an internal standpoint, get visibility at school so that their own organizations can see opportunities for upskilling employees, working with researchers at universities, and that partnership really builds. From the school's perspective, it's almost like self-marketing. They're working with these organizations, and it's a front-facing kind of thing where now these companies have a face on campus, and that means a face in recruiting. That's a face for research, a face for value generation that helps the university move along. And of course, with students, it's the networking. Students struggle. They struggle hard with meeting companies and getting their foot in the door with these social networks, professional social networks. And the UA program is a shot in the arm for them for that. It helps them meet people that they want to interact with and start slowly gaining that understanding of what an organization does. And again, it leads to other peripheral things. There's a lot of internships that come out of the UA. And that allows companies to test drive students, in a manner of speaking, but also the students get to test drive a company and see what kind of organization they'd like to work with. UA schools are a great place for organizations to get interns because they're ready to hit the ground running when they're done with their coursework. So there's a great variety of things that benefit all three parts of that group.
Yeah, it's kind of very interesting, Tom. You mentioned that it seems like a mutually beneficial for all parties involved in terms of, especially like I think one thing that I really liked about your observation is everybody gets to test drive, right? You know, you get to know the employer versus the employers get to know the students, and the university being in the middle trying to engage these different parties into a common platform, right? So, Meagan, from your perspective, I mean, how have you seen this work? Like, you know, what's your perspective on this?
From an education standpoint, I have seen the great collaboration that has come between industry partners, SAP proper, and then also the universities in the University Alliances. There is a wealth of information that's provided by these companies when it comes to adapting new technologies, giving students hands-on opportunities to work with these new technologies. And it also helps to encourage and support faculty-led research. So not only are we looking for benefits to the students, but also benefits in making the research aspect of working and having that environment where we have that pipeline of students versus our students going to our employers. It kind of all comes together as a nice symbiosis.
Makes sense. No, definitely. So let's talk about from a different angle, right? Lessons learned when you're working with employers. How can they be successful?
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it comes back a little bit to what we were saying just a bit ago about that front-facing aspect. One of the things that we've seen with our students, and part of it is the demographics of the student today, but if they don't know an organization, they tend not to go out of their way to recruit at that organization. They like, whatever they know, and they stick with it. Well, for companies that don't have an end consumer product, they're at a disadvantage. So those people who make intermediates, they make the product that goes into other products. Our students don't know them, and the company's not on the radar during recruiting. With a program like UA, they're seeing how everything is made behind the scenes. A lot of UA schools also do plant tours and things like that as part of the curriculum to get folks onto the shop floor, let's say, and see how SAP is really used there. And breaking down that barrier, if you will, or informing the students of who's out there, that's a big change in the opportunities for a company to recruit. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've seen come out of UA programs is the visibility of the company in front of the students is greatly increased compared to traditional courses.
Oh, I think I really love that aspect of it. It seems like, there is a conduit into how a student is starting from an education point of view, but then getting into real life earlier than they expect to, right? I mean, this engagement through the UA program allows them to experience, way up front, which makes it easier when they actually get into the real work life, right? So it seems like a very powerful tool that allows them to kind of be ahead of the competition. I mean, there's always companies looking for talent, but talent that comes with education upfront about themselves, about the organization where they're maybe potentially working in the future. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have noticed that there not only is that reduced onboarding time because they have those skills and they're ready to hit the ground running, but there's also the opportunity to develop the talent. So it's not uncommon for students who are part of the University Alliances to intern at a company, then possibly work part-time at a company, and then become full-time hire as soon as they graduate. So you can start to develop that talent in a specific way that meets your needs of your organization.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think, and that is the key point, right? How do we get that engagement going early on? So now taking a little deviation from our UA part of it, but on a personal level, you both have been an educator for quite some time. Taking it back to the University Alliance, what is the aha moment that you experienced over the past few years? And
Yeah.
Tom, you can start, and then Meagan, you can follow up with, what your experience is. We'd love to share that with our listeners.
Well, it's funny the way you said that, because for me right now, it's going through the list of aha moments. There's not just one. There a couple of them. There was one one aha moment for a Midwest company. So this is a company that was in Minneapolis, and they had to change the way that they hired new hires and students, because they brought on a student who was doing SAP coursework as an intern his sophomore year at school. And they liked him so much, they brought him in for another internship the following summer. And when he graduated, of course, he applied for a position there, and they gave him a position, but he had worked there so long already, they couldn't hire him as a new hire. He was actually in a different salary bracket.
Wow.
And when you have a student that's that valuable before they've even finished their coursework, that's a big aha moment on what a UA program does for the student skills. The other big aha moment is when I take a look at the students in my classroom, and I'm MIS faculty, right? Management Information Systems. You would think the course I teach predominantly has MIS students in it. But my biggest SAP classes, my MIS students are in the minority in the class. It's usually other disciplines: supply chain management, marketing, accounting. And it shows, I think, the value that other disciplines place on SAP skills, and what those organizations are then doing to the recruiting at our college. So yeah, there's a lot of aha moments.
Wow.
I think the biggest aha moment for me was a very rewarding experience. A couple years ago at Sapphire, I was able to sit in on a session in which one of our former students was presenting as the subject matter expert. And that was only 3 years after she had graduated from our program. So knowing that the roles were reversed and I was able to learn from her, just like she had learned from me in the classroom, 5 years earlier, was a great aha moment and a great feeling that our program does make a difference, and that we can really bolster up that talent pipeline and really have students who are ready to hit the ground running to make valuable impacts for any organization that they're hired at.
Great examples. Thank you for sharing that. I think one thing I would like to add to this is being an SAP professional for over 20 years and working with different industries and different customers. One thing is very clear to me, and that is the talent that comes out of the UA program, right? I mean, the example that you used, Meagan, about someone this early in the career getting on a stage, something like a Sapphire conference, huge opportunity and huge gathering of customers and partners and folks who are learning more about SAP. And this is a moment for a student that just came out of this program and getting into the workforce, be able to share what they learned and on this kind of stage. I think that is great, and especially Tom, your examples, speaks for itself, right? I mean, you're looking at, as an organization, customers looking for talent, but when the talent is that well developed early on and they are able to get into the organization, with kind of start running from the get-go. I mean, that's what a lot of these companies are looking for. They want to have employees who are ready, who understand the culture, who can adapt to the applications, to the technologies that they're using. So it's a happy ending from both angles, right? So great examples. Thank you. Well, I know we talked about a bunch of things in our session, so that takes me to my last question, and this is one takeaway that I always like our listeners to have with them, after every session. So based on all that we have covered so far, what is the one key takeaway that you would want our listeners to leave with?
I would say that the one key takeaway that I want listeners to leave with is a expanded knowledge that this program does exist. It may not be at your fingertips at this time, but just the knowledge of knowing that the University Alliances is out there and is promoting and producing this talent is something to maybe tuck into your back pocket and revisit at another time and really reach out to a UA school in your area.
And to echo that, I think it's about engagement. So a company needs to reach out in this day and age to find the resources it needs, and the UA is a great place to reach out to. But you also want to reach out to your local schools, even if they're not in the UA program yet. Your interest in UA coursework may push them in that direction. And it's that interaction that I really want to see organizations do, is get out there with their local schools and start that conversation. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't find the resources that you want. The best thing that can happen is you find these diamonds in the rough that you can then use and use them to recruit even more diamonds in the rough. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
No, great examples. I think, and I think that's the key, right? I mean, you have the opportunity and you have the means to get to this great program that has been around. And how do we get the word out? So folks who are looking, folks who may be looking in the future, folks who never even heard about it, this is an opportunity for them to avail this, at least explore the options and see what is out there in terms of what UA can do for them. And we'll look forward to having you both on our next session, where we'll dig more into the details of the University Alliance program. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to Tech Driven Business, brought to you by Innovative Solution Partners. Meagan and Tom shared valuable insights on how partners can come together in building a talent pipeline. Their main takeaway? Know that the University Alliance is out there and reach out to a UA school in your area. It's all about engagement and finding these diamonds in the rough that can help build a talent pipeline. We would love to hear from you. Continue the conversation by connecting with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Learn more about Innovative Solution Partners and schedule a free consultation by visiting isolutionpartners.com. Never miss a podcast by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Information is in the show notes.